Hi there, Henry from 911 Virgin, the Porsche people in Uxbridge. Welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to come kind of a bit more up to date, and we're going to look at something a bit more recent. And this came in, quite an interesting little car, so I thought I'd make a little video on this. This is a 991T, 2018, and so first of all, the Porsche 991 model 911, how does it fit into things? So we've got the 964, we've got the 993, we've got the 996, we looked at the GT3 version of the 996, 997, which we haven't looked at yet, but we will do. And then after the 997 in 2012 came the 991. The 993 and 991 share a little bit in common in that the chief stylist for the 993 was a guy called Tony Hatter, English guy, and he's also attributed with helping the styling on the 991 as well. So it's kind of got good pedigree in that respect. Externally, the 997, 991, they haven't reinvented the wheel. It's, as ever with 911s, it's sort of evolution, not revolution. But there were a couple of things which did change on the 991. Some people see it a bit the same as the 964 model, which we've looked at, whereby externally it looked kind of about the same, but mechanically massive changes. And the 991 is actually a completely different body shell. And what they did with the 991, the most significant things is they increased the wheel base by 4 inches and the wheel track by a couple of inches. And it's something that the engineers and designers had been kind of asking for a while, but it wasn't possible with the 996 or 997 shells. And the benefit is, with the extra wheelbase, it gives you a bit more stability, and with the extra track, the extra width, it means you can run slightly less aggressive anti-roll bars, and that in turn reduces the tendency of the car to understeer. So that was the advantage that brought. This is actually a Generation 2 991, and with the Gen 2 came a couple of sort of quite, well, radical things, the most significant of which was the engine. And so the Gen 2 991 features a turbocharged engine in the standard base car. So Porsche have produced turbos since 1975-76, but their normal cars have always been normally aspirated, and they have the turbo running alongside. With the 991, the standard cars, which were the Carrera and the Carrera S, both featured a 3 litre, 6-cylinder twin turbo engine. The Carrera is 365 horsepower, the Carrera S is, I think, 414 horsepower from memory, 350 newton meters of torque on the Carrera and 400 newton meters of torque on the S. And it's interesting that they haven't gone for a larger capacity engine in the S. They've kept the same capacity, and they've made the power up by changes to exhaust, turbo and engine management system. And one of the benefits of this engine is that it gives you more fuel efficiency, and it also increased the power over the previous 991 cars. When it was muted, a lot of people said, absolutely not, it's terrible, you need to have a normally aspirated engine in a 911, so on and so forth. We'll take it out for a drive in a minute, and we'll see how it drives, and we'll make our own minds up, see whether it's any good or not. So this particular car is a 911T, and the T stands for touring. With this car, Porsche kind of revived something. I mean, when they said it was a touring, it was based on cars from the 1970s. They had a 911 touring of that era. But I almost think this could have been called a 911 Club Sport or a 991 Club Sport, because in the mid 1980s with the 3.2 Carrera, Porsche produced a club sport, and they took a bit of weight out of it. They took 40 kilos of weight out of it, took the back seats out, gave it a limited slip differential, slightly different suspension, and made it this kind of lightweight, maybe more driver focused car. They also did the same with the 968. They produced the 968 Club Sport, which again, no back seats in it, a bit lighter, and again felt a really different car to the standard offering of the day. You know, particularly if you compared the 968 Club Sport to a 968 Tiptronic, literally chalk and cheese. And so Porsche's idea behind this is that they're going to take a bit of weight out of it, and they're going to make it a slightly more driver focused car, but it is for the road. So we've looked at the GT3 and we've looked at the GT4, and those are cars which I think are kind of a foot in both camps, a track car, a road car. You know, you do track days, you drive to a track day, and then you come back. You can use them on the road, but I think they're probably more track focused than they are road focused. The theory behind this is that it's really it's a road car, so it's for kind of normal road use, but for someone who enjoys, you know, touring, driving around, and wants the full feel of a 911. What did they do? They saved the weight in a couple of ways. They changed the rear window and the side windows there, made them a bit thinner and a bit lighter. You also had the default of no rear seats in the car. Now this particular car has a no cost option of seats being re-included. One of the things with the 911 is its big selling point is the fact that you've got seats in the back, and it does allow you to put mostly kids in the back. Without rear seats, you're looking at the Boxster and the Cayman, and it's a very, very limited market. You know, if you actually look around at sports cars with some degree of ability to carry people in the back, the 911 is you know, there's not that much that competes with it. So a lot of these will go for the rear seats, and I think probably not a bad thing to do. The other thing, that by default you lost the infotainment system, your entertainment radio, sat nav, so on. Again, this one's actually had it put back in, which again is, I think, probably not a bad idea. You've got 20-inch alloys, these grey alloys, and then also the mirrors were grey colour as well, rather nice. You've got decals down the side there, and then also, I don't know if you can see in here, a little 911T logo in there. Now, the big thing about this car, and kind of quite unusual really as to why Porsche have done this, you would have thought if you were going to base some special edition car, you'd base it on the Carrera S, but they haven't. They've based this car on the standard Carrera, not the Carrera S. And again, they're trying to sort of encapsulate this maybe lighter, nimble, more free driving feel. Again, we'll take it on the road and we'll see how that translates on the road, but it is based on a standard Carrera, not a Carrera S. As well as the 20-inch alloys on this car, you've also got a sport chassis on it, so it's a 20mm lower sport chassis, and it also features PASM, which allows you to change the suspension on the car. So again, very much focused towards driving. This particular car has steel brakes on it. I mean, Porsche's brakes are phenomenal at the best of times, and so the kind of standard brakes on this should be pretty good. I mean, we'll see out on the road. I happen to know that they're pretty good. So, you know, even when I used to race 993s, for instance, we used to just use standard steel 993 brakes on the cars. Absolutely no problem at all. So, you know, pretty good on there. And yes, our little 911 Carrera T logo side script. Very nice. This particular car's got the T interior pack as well, which gives you the ribbon door pulls. You've got, this one's got the stitching, contrasting stitching. It's got a lovely pinstripe interior. I love this. This is almost sort of taking me back to the kind of classic era of 911s, which I really, really like. The other thing you got on this car was a 7-speed manual gearbox. It was available in PDK, but I think from the whole sort of ethos, weight saving and so on of the car, the PDK box is going to add weight to a car, so I think probably its most natural form for this particular edition is with a manual gearbox. So it's a 7-speed manual gearbox, and it's also a slightly shorter throw on the gears and a slightly closer ratio of the gears. I think I'm right in saying they use the final drive of the Carrera S gearbox on the standard Carrera gearbox, but I may be proved wrong on that one, but certainly it's a closer ratio box. But a really, really lovely interior. One of the things again that the 991 as a model was trying to do was to kind of raise the quality of the interior even further. You know, the improvements have been, well, ongoing since kind of 3.2 Carreras, 964s, 996s. Then the 997s, the quality really started to get there. And then with the 991, Porsche have gone for this kind of centre tunnel arrangement, which is evocative of the Carrera GT when it came out. That had that sort of centre tunnel, and it's now gone throughout the whole model lineup. So it just brings it into that kind of modern feel of the Porsche family. So yeah, really, really nice interior. So I'm wearing my glasses. It turns out that I can't actually see without them, so I thought I'll see what I'm doing this time. So yes, I'm getting older. Right, let me address the fundamental flaw, the schoolboy error with this 991, and I cannot believe that Porsche haven't sorted it out. It's so fundamental, so obvious, you'd almost never buy the car. And that is the handbrake. Gone are the days when you get a handbrake lever that you pull up and then you release and put down. You get a little button these days, all the cars are doing it, and it's just modernity. But Porsche don't understand the fundamentals of a handbrake. Little button under here, you pull it towards you to turn it off, and you push it away from you to turn the handbrake on. That's crazy. You don't put the handbrake down to put it on and pull it up to put it off. You pull a handbrake up, Porsche, to pull it on. You pull the button towards you to pull it on. Sort that out, please. So, notwithstanding Porsche's problem with the handbrake, which I'm sure they will resolve having listened to this video, I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. The engine. When this car came out, everyone was talking about the engine. It's turbocharged. Normal cars should be normally aspirated, and it's terrible. And bizarrely, it turns out that Porsche actually are quite good at what they do, and they know what they're doing. The engine's lovely. It's turbocharged, but there's no turbo lag in it. Bags of torque. Pulls all the way through. It's a really smooth engine. 365 horsepower. And that takes you to a sprightly 70 miles an hour quite easily. So yeah, rather nice. I think 0 to 60 on this was quoted at 4.5 seconds, something like that. I think the PDK was a little bit quicker. I think also we're getting to a point with some of the kind of hypercars where they're almost outwitting us as human beings, I think. For me, what I like about this car is it's a really nice kind of blend between me and the car. I don't feel the car's running away with me. We're on the same page. But, you know, for sure, it's you know, it's got some beans. It's not a slow car, but it is manageable, and I like that about this car a lot. Interestingly, the car, it's a touring it's kind of designed to be used, and we can set off from here and we can drive down to Monaco or wherever we want to go to. And it feels exactly like that. When I kind of read about this, I would have thought all the same things that everybody else thinks. You think, okay, well, why have they based it on a Carrera, not a Carrera S? But it works. It's 365 horsepower, it's 350 newton meters of torque, and that's absolutely fine. It's kind of all you need. The steering, they've gone for electronic steering, and again, everybody moans and groans and says, oh, it's terrible, it's, what are they doing? It feels fine. It's not as sharp a front end as a GT3, absolutely not. But this isn't supposed to be a GT3. This is designed to be driven on the road every day, and I'm chilled out, I'm relaxed, I'm happy. I'm not having to kind of grip the wheel and concentrate, and I can still place the car. If I want a mad 5 minutes in the car, I've got it. The gear change in it is absolutely beautiful. It's a really nice throw on the gear lever. It's so positive, and it's lovely. You've got sports mode on the car, so we've got little controls on the steering wheel here, so we can go from normal mode, sports mode, or sport plus. In sport mode, we've got the sharpened throttle response, and also we've got a bit of extra exhaust noise. And then in sport plus, the PASM kicks in, stiffens the suspension up, and I can feel it now. We're feeling those South Buckinghamshire roads. I keep saying it, they're rubbish. As I say, for an African country, they wouldn't be too bad, but for the Western world, South Bucks, come on, sort your act out, sort your roads out. So Sport Plus, you can feel the roads. Sport mode, it's fine. So I think, for me, it's a car you tend to kind of drive in sport mode most of the time. That seems to sort of function quite well, and yeah, it's nice. So in the kind of lead up to this car and the more modern Porsches, the tendency has been to go for PDK rather than manual, and PDK certainly found favour. It's a good gearbox. I mean, you can have it in the kind of manual mode or automatic, and it copes well with urban or sort of more sporty driving. But this, as I say, for me, this is a kind of manual gearbox car, and particularly with this manual box, really, really nice. I think it's, I've had PDKs for a little while now as my own cars, and sometimes you kind of get into manuals and you think, oh, it's a bit of a faff, but this is so lovely and crisp that, I would choose this particular car, I think, in manual over PDK myself. Just the whole ethos of this feel of car is really nice. The cabin sort of space in here is really, really lovely. I love the steering wheel. I quite like the Sport and Sport Plus dial on the steering wheel. Again, it just sort of feels nice, easy to hand, and it saves kind of glancing down to try and find where buttons are in the center console. The 991, as I said earlier, it brings it into the current family of Porsches with this center console layout. And yeah, I quite like some of the little bits and pieces. You've got the ribbon door pulls, which a lot of the kind of lighter weight or intended lighter weight cars have, the RSs and so on, and it just gives it a little sense of purposefulness, if you like. A couple of door bins down the side here again, which are quite useful. Put your bits and pieces in when you're touring, and yeah, it's a really nice feel. Seats are really comfy. Sport seats in this one fit the body well, and kind of hold you. They're not too intrusive, so if you're a sort of chunkier monkey, you're going to be able to sort of sit in there without feeling as though you're wedged in and kind of can't get out. But yeah, feels really nice, and actually the fabric of this as well, fabric grips you really well as well, so the whole thing is really supportive and rather nice. So we can go from sort of normal mode to sport mode, just gives us a bit of extra exhaust noise, which is nice. That got to 70 miles an hour very quickly. And again, with a turbocharged engine, there's a fear that it's going to be too quiet, and it's not drony, it's not, you know, this isn't going to be the finest sounding engine Porsche have ever produced. You know, my cup car with straight through pipes is a sight more kind of invigorating than this is, but again, it's a road car, it's designed for the road, it's not supposed to tire you out. You're supposed to do hundreds of miles in this and get out of it as fresh as a daisy, and you can do, which I think is yeah, it's exactly, it's kind of, it does what it says on the tin. I like it. Well, the full 4 seasons in a day, a bit of rain and a bit of wind and a bit of all sorts. What a lovely car. It's very, very different to, let's say, the GT3 or the RS replica that we did, in that they're quite sort of demanding cars, really. You know, they're very much of the extreme. And this is a really easy to live with car. You get in it and there's nothing other than the handbrake that's going to upset you. But it's still a good, fun car. You know, it's not dull. It's just, I'd say it's capable. I don't feel as though, by the fact that it's based on the Carrera, not the Carrera S, it's really missing anything. I'm not driving it thinking, oh, it's all right, but you know, 365 horsepower. This turbocharged engine, it's got torque all the way through, and the gearbox with the ratios. You know, it really is good. I mean, you put your foot down and it's plenty quick enough. It will certainly do 70 miles an hour very easily. And yeah, I like what you know, Porsche have done with it. I don't think they've gone over the top anywhere. Things like the sound deadening. Funnily enough, you hear a little bit of noise when you go over kind of bits of grit, just the tyre putting grit into the wheel arches. You hear that a little bit more than perhaps you might do normally, but it's not boomy, it's not hard to live with in any way at all. So, you know, I'd have no problems there. Bit of exhaust noise on there. Again, it's not the noisiest car we've ever been in, but you know, when you put your foot down, it sort of stirs the senses a little bit. So yeah, really nice. Steering, again, you know, compared to a GT3, of course, it's nothing like as sharp as a GT3, but it's you know, it's very usable. I think the fact that it's not as sharp as a GT3 probably makes it more relaxing to drive. You know, you're not conscious of having to sort of grip the wheel and sort of pay attention as much as perhaps you would. You know, it doesn't feel nervous at all. And again, that might be helped by the fact that with the 991 you've got that 4-inch longer wheelbase, you've got the 2-inch wider track. So you know, it's not nervous. It's a very easy car to drive and to live with. So yeah, I've enjoyed this. You know, this would be a sort of good, you know, everyday usable car in all conditions. So yeah, not a bad effort, and I quite like what it's all about. I'm also, exploring is too strong a word, but I find it quite interesting, this concept of whether with some of the supercars we're seeing now and the sports cars, they're almost outgrowing us as kind of human beings and drivers and road conditions and so on. And I think it's trying to find that sweet spot between there being enough power so it's enjoyable, but not so much power that you know, the second you put your foot down, you're doing 120 miles an hour and you've lost your license in the blink of an eye. And so I think this is interesting in that balance between, you know, usability, drivability, power, and also sensibility on the road. So yeah, enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm Henry. We're 911 Virgin, the Porsche people in Uxbridge. Many thanks for watching the video, and as I always say it, thanks to the people that subscribe, and if you've got any comments, feel free to make them, and we try and get back to you. We've got a couple of other videos planned for the future, but if you've anything that you see on the website that you want us to make a video of, feel free to comment. Stay safe, goodbye.